It's Indie Film Cafe. And what is this for again?
This is for Film Freaks.
This is for Film Freaks. Yes, we're watching a movie on Film Freaks. I'm your old pal, the Book Owl, and I'm with
Jonathan A. Moody, your co-host.
And I'm also with
Joe.
And we're also with
Rocky!
Yay!
He's joining us.
And we are doing a David Lynch movie because, unfortunately, David Lynch just recently passed away. But this is a movie I've been wanting to do for quite a while anyway. And in fact, it is my favorite David Lynch movie. And we are talking about Lost Highway.
Lost Highway!
And we're doing it over here in the Moody home because he's got the 4K version of it.
I do.
So we're going to see it all of its 4K glory.
Yes. Rocky is excited.
That's right.
You can't tell, but he is.
Rocky is a huge David Lynch fan.
Yep.
Yes. Yes.
So we are seeing it here, but we're also seeing it at the studio.
What?
Yes.
Huh?
You'll see. It's in the movie. I'm there too.
I get it.
Okay. All right. Anyway, have a good one, guys. We'll be back in a bit.
Bye. To talk about Lost Highway.
Yes, we are. I had to move my soda so it's closer.
So there was this highway and it was lost.
It was
the
lost.
The end.
The end.
It was.
That was it. That was the whole movie.
Yep.
That would be a David Lynch kind of thing to do.
Well, that would be my kind of thing to do.
Yeah, screw you, audience.
Yeah.
Just make it be about the highway that got lost.
Yep.
You know, that's it.
But in the end, it found its way home.
But no, I mean, there was subtext with it, you know, like things with the idea of it being called Lost Highway. You know, there's obviously the Lost Highway Hotel, but there's also the highway that they're on a lot, which felt like Mulholland Drive.
A little bit, yeah.
So,
But Mulholland Drive was never lost.
No,
I don't
it
think
sure
so.
wasn't.
No.
All right, what are we starting with?
Where do you start with a movie like this?
Yeah, because, I mean, I don't know that you want to just jump right in and explain the plot. I don't know, do you?
I mean, is there... I mean, there's a plot.
I think so.
There's a plot.
There is a plot.
There's a really big plot, but...
And I don't find it all that ambiguous, actually. A lot of people, apparently...
Well, I do. I think there's a lot of occurrence on Elk Creek Bridge in this, but I also think there's some other stuff going on, too, in theory.
What was occurrences at Owl Creek Bridge?
That's an Ambrose Bierce short story where this guy's getting hung, and he's in the noose, and then all of a sudden he's free, and he's running away, and he's getting away, and
because the noose breaks. Like, the noose breaks. They kick the thing out from under him. He falls, but the noose breaks. He falls into the river, and he escapes.
This marvelous, incredible escape, and then he's dead. Because it didn't really happen. It was all in his head.
He imagined all of that in the 2 or 3 seconds it took for him to fall and his neck to snap. Yeah. He imagined it all.
Just so you understand, reading interviews with David Lynch with regards to this film, apparently the idea for this came right around after the whole thing with O.J. And he said that he read about how, with O.J. murdering his wife, that there are people who very rarely go into this disassociative fugue state where what they have done is so horrible and so awful that they've managed to convince themselves completely that it had nothing to do with it, that they were not involved. They completely, their brain completely reconcocts a new reality because the old reality is unacceptable. And I think that's part of what's going on, what he's exploring here, in addition with the occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge. And I think Robert Blake's character represents this sort of reality trying to force its way in and saying, You know what I mean? And trying to manipulate things.
I 100% agree with all of that.
I would disagree.
Oh yeah.
Only because okay, only having seen it once. You know, this is my first time and everything. What would be confusing about that is when did he murder his wife? Then was this way before all of this happened?
Yeah. Remember, because he's not a reliable narrator. We saw something else first.
So what we saw was, in the beginning, was him and his wife, and they kept getting videotapes of their house and all this stuff and whatnot, and it seemed like somebody was there watching them. Mm-hmm. That was probably the other reality kind of idea or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
I don't think that was really happening.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And then they go to that party or whatever, and he meets the mystery man guy and everything, but he hadn't murdered his wife yet, did he? Or had he?
Yeah, I think he had.
So he had murdered his wife. She was there with him. None of this ever happened. Mm-mm. So the whole movie we never saw before. All of this never happened, right?
I think you did, but it's fractured, so you can't trust what you're seeing.
I think the only times in the movie where stuff was happening in reality was when the police officer punches him in the face and says, "You wife killer," or whatever, you know? And then when he first ends up in the prison cell. I think that's the only thing that we're seeing that's actually just exactly how it is.
At the end,
that was when he found...
Well, in the end, when he, yeah.
That was after he found his wife dead and everything, or they found his wife dead and everything, the police.
Now, here's the thing. This is the part that I've always wrestled with. Did he do it on purpose or not?
I think he did it on purpose, yeah. And I think it's because she was involved in some seedy shit. And he felt very, and because he was having trouble with impotence, you know, and he just felt completely emasculated by her and by the
only
situation.
reason I ask is because one of the first things he's like, "Did I do this? Tell me that I did this."
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
because if he didn't want to, it was so horrible to escape it. It's not like he would want that.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, but maybe it was just in the moment.
He would be like, "I didn't do this," but he doesn't say that.
Well,
yeah.
Well, because he's wondering if he did or not, because he doesn't know.
Right.
And so, who is Pete to him? Like, is Pete just a person he might have saw or something?
And that's where things get a little different, because my personal feeling is that that's him reaching out to a younger, more virile version of himself, and the Robert Blake character, who is sort of like the mystery guy in reality and all that, kind of plucks him from this other reality and puts it in there, and it sort of like enables him to have this fantasy.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, that is helping or is something for Blake's character. Whatever the mystery man gets out of it, he's getting something out of it, and he's using both of them, because Pete's also mixed up in some shit. You know what I mean?
Well, so it's really funny you were mentioning O.J. Simpson, and then we also have Robert Blake.
Yes.
Yes. Which you said you didn't know.
You didn't know
all that information. No. We're not going to go into that. You can go look up Robert Blake and find all that information out.
Killing your wife, then having a movie about killing your wife, and then starring one of the actors who kills his wife.
Yeah.
Do you think that David Lynch felt at all guilty about that?
That almost feels like David Lynch planned that somehow.
Yeah. All of life, all of reality.
David Lynch was the guy.
Have you seen the meme on Facebook and whatnot where it says, "Just put this sticker in your window and it makes everything make more sense," and it says directed by David Lynch? And so you look out your window and you're like, "Yep, okay, that tracks now."
Well, definitely 2025, yeah.
Yep, I could see that.
And I'm sad that he passed like this year. This year just seems like the year of the Lynch, you know?
Yeah.
Anything.
And I the reason I love that one scene where it is because that's the closest thing I can think of next to The Shining, where you know that you cannot trust what you're seeing, that the reality that you and that character are experiencing is not the same.
Uh-huh.
As soon as he says, "I'm here, but I'm also here."
Oh, I love that scene though.
That was
your
so
favorite scene.
creepy.
Yeah. I love it when he's laughing and he's laughing in the room
and
you
in
hear
the
him
phone.
in the phone too. Oh my gosh,
that was really creepy. They did that really well because like
that was cool.
Yeah,
and there's obviously something about that because he just he'll like bark orders. Now give me the phone. Now call this one. Now do this, and everybody just does it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think they're curious. Like because he said I'm at your house. He's like, how can you be at my house and be here?
Yeah.
And then he's like, call the phone or whatever. So I think it's curiosity. But it's also, once again, if you go to the idea that this is all in his head, or whatever, of course he's going to listen to the thing. Because when you do dreams, when I'm in a dream, I kind of just go with the flow in my dream. I don't know about you guys. I don't try. I mean, but maybe you would try to like, change things up in the
Lucid
dream,
dreaming.
or whatever. But yeah, most of the time you have no control. You just do what it is. And I think that's what sort of it is if it's in his head.
So you don't set things up ahead of time before you think about things before you go to sleep?
I don't do it on purpose. No.
Yeah,
if I had like if I watched a movie or something, I was like, ooh, that was really good. Like I watched Lost Highway and it really fucked with my head. Then I went to bed. I might have a weird dream like about where I'm in a Lost Highway kind of situation. But then once again, I can't control it. Like I can't. Unless you're lucid dreaming, which I don't know if I've ever been able to do or not.
I did it once, accidentally.
I have done it, but the problem is that for me, I have physical reactions to that.
No.
When you start because usually you only do it just before you enter REM sleep, and if I'm not completely asleep, I get really weird leg cramps and stuff that happens at that.
Well, because it's not good for your body,
there are neurological issues going on. Unfortunately.
I've only had sleep paralysis when it comes to that stuff.
That I've never had.
And those are scary as fuck. 'Cause I remember one specific one. I was having sleep paralysis. I was dehydrated, right? And when you're dehydrated, a lot of that can cause cause that to happen. And I was staring out into my hallway, and there was a black figure in the hallway.
Oh.
And I was like, I thought it was a shadow at first of something, right? And then it got closer and closer, and then it jumped on me, and I could barely I could lift up because when you're sleep paralysis, you could barely touch it, but I could lift up the covers on me, and I felt it go.
Whoa.
And I was like, I thought I was not. I didn't know I was dreaming. I thought this was real.
Whoa.
And so then I woke up, and I was like, oh my god, like that was the creepiest thing that ever happened to me. So it's happened to me twice. Same thing too, and I'm like, and it only happens when I'm dehydrated. It was when I used to drink. It hasn't happened since I got sober and all that stuff. I've been dehydrated since sober.
There are times when I can sort of set the stage before I go to sleep by thinking. I play a lot of role playing games, so I create a lot of characters, and I think about them, and I think about where they are and what they would have done and how they would have been, and I think about them before I go to sleep. And sometimes I dream about that, and sometimes I don't, or sometimes it'll start off like that, but it'll go off in its own direction. And because you're right, as soon as you start dreaming, it's like free form, and your brain is like, instead of following the tune on the page, it's just all freelance.
And it's also like a movie. Literally, the dreams are like a movie. So I've had this weird fascination lately of like, if there is like some kind of life after death kind of thing, and my idea is like, maybe we just enter a dream world.
Well, the thing is, we need dreams, and we need that because it's just our way of our brains to decompress and to do that. But you notice there's also stuff going on in here. He talks about how he can't sleep.
Yeah.
And the doctor gives him something, God knows whatever it is, to help him sleep. Because I think that that's what's going on. It's his brain is unable to sleep, and he's got this horrible anxiety that's driving him nuts, and he reaches out in desperation. Please, this can't be the reality I'm going through.
Right.
And something answers him, and something utilizes him and uses him to give him what he wants, but also what the entity wants as well.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Is Pete a real character?
A real person?
Not in that reality, but yes.
So you think he, in the real reality of life, right? Or not? So
I think to me, it's an idea that there are parallel universes and things going on, and okay, so what's
multiverse?
Yeah, it's a multiverse. So
so this was one of the first multiverses before Marvel.
I don't know about first, but yeah. So Bill Pullman's character's in the one, and he's fucking up big time. And Robert Blake is the one who sees them all and is able to go to all of them, and he's pulling one out and putting it in the other because that's what he wants, or that's what he needs. So he's helping him, but he's also fulfilling something else because in the other reality, he's being utilized in another way to punish the same guy. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So yeah, I don't think that the Pete character is even real at all. I think that all of that's in his head. I think the entire time he's sitting in his prison cell.
It's possible.
And he's just imagining this because he's fantasizing about being a young, virile man again with this hot woman. And, of course, it starts to go wrong because his reality is starting to creep back in. You know, he can't disassociate enough. And I think, yeah, this is all a figment of his imagination, the whole thing.
I do think Patricia Arquette's real, though. She was his wife.
I think so, too, yeah, earlier. But I don't think that the blonde Patricia Arquette really existed. And I don't. So
you don't think the porno Patricia Arquette existed?
Well, I think she really was into stuff like that in the real world. Because that guy that she was hanging out with, Andy, he was sleazy. Come on. Yeah, he totally was running stuff like that. So.
And you got conked on the head and then.
yeah, I really do think that she was into that stuff, and I do think.
Andy was dead too, right? At one point.
So. Well, yeah, because he's the table head guy.
I know, but before Hand in the thing, they said. Isn't Andy dead?
No, it was Dick Laurent.
Dick Laurent dead.
And that's the old guy.
There was also something about him. I thought there was something about Andy being dead.
Not earlier. Not earlier in the movie.
Well, but it's interesting because he's not Dick Laurent in the other movie.
He's Mr. Eddie.
He's Mr. Eddie.
Oh.
And she, you know what I'm saying? That's why I think there are these two parallel streams going on, and that they're getting mixed in different points.
Oh, yeah. I think he's just imagining people that he knows in his real life, but he's putting them in different scenarios in his mind.
And that's where things get a little bit weird because when you have two universes colliding, basically overlapping, and then they become intertwined into each other, it gets way too confusing because then how are you supposed to know which universe is which? You know,
right. Plus, we don't have the capacity to do this on our own. That's why I think the Robert Blake character is there to do that for him, for whatever reason, for reasons.
Yeah, I think that is just a terrifying character he's made up in his brain that is trying to alert him to the fact that he's disassociating.
Mm-hmm. Maybe
that's all I thought that character was.
So we first see him at that party. And he comes up and he says, "I know you. You know, we've met before."
Yeah.
And then he says, "Where have we met?" And he says, "At your house." You know, right? And he said, "When were you at my house?" He's like, "I'm at your house right now." You know.
Yep.
And so he was there at the house where the woman's dead, right?
And he's the one taking the videotape.
And he's the one taking the videotape. So he took the videotape of the guy of Bill Pullman murdering his wife and everything, as well as watching them while they
leaving
sleep.
Little hints before all that happens.
Yeah, and on top of that, Bill Pullman would ask his wife to come in and watch the tapes. The last time when she's dead, did you notice he watched it alone?
Yeah.
So that meant that oh shit, she's dead now, or whatever.
But the thing is how is he doing it? You know, if he's showing you that he's there and he didn't break in, and then the cops are there and you can clearly hear somebody on the roof. You know what I'm saying?
Well, because that's all in his memory. Nothing's happening in the present until the cop punches him in the face. In that, when they're first interrogating him about the murder, all the stuff that happened previous to that, this is his memory of all those things. And he even said, I don't keep videotapes because I like to remember things the way I like to remember them.
Right. That's what I was going to bring up too. Is that he says that line.
That's thematic too.
And and later you see, the mystery man with the video camera, videotaping the whole thing of him going and killing Laurent or whatever.
Yeah, I don't think those videotapes really existed because I think all that stuff at the beginning was his memory of what had happened.
That I agree with.
So,
it's very it gets so confusing only because once again, Paul says the narrator is unreliable,
right.
Which means that whatever we see in the beginning, whatever we see in the middle, whatever we see at the end, some of that we won't know what's real, what's not, and we're not supposed to.
And and Lynch would be the first one to tell you that this movie is open to interpretation, and one person who interprets it one way isn't necessarily wrong or correct depending on how you look at it. You know what I mean?
I saw him do an interview with somebody from the BBC or something on talking about Mulholland Drive, and the guy tried to get him to at first he was like, I know you don't like to talk about your films and tell us, you want other people to make up their own mind, but what have other people said about you, right? And he looks at me and goes, I'm not going to tell you that.
Yeah.
And he's like, because he doesn't want somebody else's interpretation that he got, and that's a secondhand talk anyway.
Well,
right.
But
I think the reason I like this one better than Mulholland Drive, even though I agree Mulholland Drive is a better film, it just didn't hit me in the same way that this hit me when I first saw it in the theater.
Wow. And
was not expecting this movie to be like that.
I know.
You know what I mean? So, and when Mulholland Drive came along, I had more of a taste, okay, maybe it's going to happen this again. And then Inland Empire came, and I'm like, okay, this is too much.
Too much, yeah.
Doesn't work.
And you know what? I think that's why I liked Mulholland Drive better than this one.
Because you saw it first.
Because I saw it first.
See, same. Yeah, I saw Mulholland Drive first.
You bring up a good point because I felt that way about a lot of movies, Puddle Cruiser, which is the first movie done by the Super Troopers guys.
Yeah.
I saw that before I saw Super Troopers. That became my favorite movie. Had I seen Super Troopers first, I think that would have become my first favorite movie. And I think, Mallrats is my favorite movie. I think Clerks is a great movie, but I saw Mallrats first, and you know what I mean. I think what you see first, basically dictates the stuff you see, unless what you see first was bad,
right?
And then the next movie was better.
I mean, it doesn't always work out that way, but a lot of times it does. I think Guillermo del Toro, I saw Pan's Labyrinth first. That's still my favorite.
Yeah,
right.
Mine too.
But if I saw Devil's Backbone, I think it's still Pan's Labyrinth better.
Sorry, that's what I meant. I saw Devil's Backbone first.
Okay.
Before I saw that.
And then Pan's
And actually, the first one I ever saw from him was Mimic.
Oh well, so. That's a Hollywood movie.
Yeah.
That's the one it didn't perform well because he didn't get the chance to really do the movie.
They took the movie out of his hands.
No. Damn bastards.
Yeah, fuck that.
Sorry, studios.
It's a shame because 75% of that movie is really good. It's just the other 25% ruined.
I don't think I ever saw it.
But anyway, but when you see a person's the first movie, it does dictate what you're going to see later. So, since I saw Mulholland Drive first, I watch this now. Going, okay, this reminds me a lot of Mulholland Drive,
right?
Which is what is the style.
This one feels like a close relative to The Shining, and that you get this feeling that you're in this nightmare situation, a nightmare world where anything can happen, and there's nothing you can do about it.
The only problem I had with thinking about The Shining is it was more clearer. It wasn't David Lynch like. It was a little bit more clear.
It was more straightforward.
Yeah, you knew that these were ghosts.
This guy is just going crazy.
Yeah, he's going crazy and seeing ghosts and everything.
Yeah.
And at the end, spoiler alert for Shining if you haven't seen that movie.
Oh, please.
But at the end, you got the picture of him when he was
in the 20s.
In the 20s and stuff. So you wonder if he'd been a ghost the whole time and just been reliving the bad night that
Again,
he murdered people.
Time is a flat circle. Everything
Yeah.
keeps coming back
And so I
around.
think like that's sort of you're right to compare this to The Shining, because I think that this movie is a good companion piece to like movies like The Shining, except this movie is even more weirder than The Shining.
I think you would very, very, very much enjoy the first season of True Detective, because it's very Lynchian, and it's
I
got
still
the
haven't even
same
seen
thing.
Twin Peaks. Isn't that terrible? Like, I didn't watch a lot of TV when I was in high school or in college, actually. But I did watch Mulholland Drive when I was in college, and then I got obsessed with David Lynch, and this was back when Blockbuster was still a thing. So I would go back and rent everything. So it was like I started with Mulholland Drive, then I did Lost Highway and Blue Velvet and Eraserhead, and I can't remember what else. But
Elephant Man?
I have not seen Elephant Man
Oh,
yet.
Elephant Man's great.
Yeah, I have not seen that yet.
That's one of my favorites from him as well. It's one of the most beautifully shot films.
Yeah.
Oh, there's also didn't he do a Nick Cage movie, Wild at Heart?
Wild at Heart.
Wild at Heart. Oh, that's right. I saw that one too. Yeah.
So I never saw it,
Not
but
Inland Empire, huh?
No, I did not see Inland Empire.
Yeah.
Well, interestingly enough, I haven't watched any of the other ones except for these two.
Yeah.
But I am because of his death. I started to kind of want to explore, and I told Paul I was watching Mulholland Drive. He goes, "Well, good, because we're doing Lost Highway," and he thought I'd already seen it. So he
I
said,
assumed you had.
Yeah, and then I said, no, I hadn't seen it yet. And he was like, "Oh my God, we got to do it. Yeah, we're doing it soon." So, but I can't wait. I mean, it's almost like discovering like a show like everybody loves, but you've never seen for the first time. Like, oh my God, like.
And
in for a treat.
This is the one of the very few films that approach the occurrence of Owl Creek Bridge close to how the short story is too. The same kind of impact. Mm-hmm. That's a very difficult thing to do.
So your idea was that it was a electric chair, that he was in the electric chair.
Well, because they said that was how he was sentenced to die.
Right.
Yeah. And then at the end, he just starts shaking, and you see all this flashing light and smoke. Yeah, I think he's in the electric chair at that moment.
And his face is like, whoa.
Yeah.
He's
even though it looks like he's driving the car, that's all in his mind.
Right. So okay, so it's probably that the beginning of his mind cracking was where he's in the jail and everything like that, right? And then I think it's when Pete takes over is when his brain starts to really crack.
Well, I think that's when the dissociative split happens, but I think he's an unreliable narrator from the beginning, that he's remembering things incorrectly in order to, not feel guilty.
Do you think he killed his wife while his brain was already going into this crazy thing?
And that's the question.
That's a good question.
What I mean, as far as did he really do it on purpose?
Because he might not even really know that he did it.
Right.
Yeah.
He might have had motivation, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he utilized it.
Yeah.
I think.
Remember how I said the cafe name was important? Do you remember what it was called?
Luna Lounge.
Which Luna, like the whole association with the moon driving people crazy, and the word lunatic and all that stuff. Yeah, and it's funny because I never caught the song at the beginning of the movie before, because we didn't have subtitles back when I watched it 20 years ago. And it was like the first words are "I'm deranged." Like, okay,
yeah. I had that soundtrack way back, and I still have the CD.
It's funny, but I kind of agree. I think he had moments where his brain would mess up or whatever, and he would see all these people do all these things, because I think there were times where his wife was very confused with him, like, why are you telling me to keep me out of the house? Why are you doing this? Stuff like this, and he's just getting paranoid and weird and crazy. And then when he murders his wife, he wakes up for a second, like he's not in that crazy state, right? Yeah. After he murders his wife, the guy punches him in the face and stuff in the thing. That's when he sort of wakes up for a bit. Yeah. Just to, in reality, their actual reality. Then he goes right back to that crazy thing right before he passes. Yeah, I think so.
And did you notice he comes back right, when he's with Pete and he's having sex with Allison, and he's like, I want you, I want you, I want you, I want you. And then all of a sudden, "You'll never have me," and he's back.
Yeah.
He's out.
The fantasy
is gone.
Is gone. Yeah. Yep.
Well, you said something. You can't have her or something like that, and
sorry, I couldn't resist.
Yeah, you spoiled it. He did a few spoiler comments in this. Sorry.
It's okay. Some I didn't notice, and some I did notice. Or whatever. But
at the beginning he said, "Oh, we're watching it at Moody's house and at the studio at the same time."
Yeah.
Right. That was said in the videos, and I didn't get it at first, and then later it just hit me. I go, because I was like thinking about what Paul said. Like, didn't Paul say something weird when we started? And I go, he said that. Okay, now I totally get it.
It's Schrodinger's Lost Highway.
Yeah, right.
But I love that. Like, I did love that scene. My favorite scene, we talked about this earlier, is the tailgater scene.
Oh, yeah, it is funny.
It was the weirdest scene ever, but I loved it. Like, this guy starts flying by, catches up to Robert Loggia's character, Mr. Eddie, and starts. Mr. Eddie, I guess, is some kind of gangster guy.
Like a mobster. Yeah.
And so he's like, he gets on the back and he's like, "Oh, this guy's, tailgating." All of a sudden, those two other guys put their seatbelts on because they know.
Yeah.
What's about to happen.
And it's so weird because if you're so disassociated in that fugue state, why would you even have that character in there? What purpose does it serve?
He is
because he's a character in real life too that was making porn films with her in the real world. Like you saw the one where she was making out with him at the party while they were watching this porn snuff film.
So it's a representation of how dangerous he is.
Yeah. But he also, just a lot of the people that he knew in his real life, like Andy, he works him into it.
So then, if that's the case, then Dick Laurent really is dead, and he killed Dick Laurent as well.
Yes, absolutely. That's what I think happened.
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
He killed Dick Laurent probably even first.
I think he killed Dick Laurent first, and then he never actually heard it over the intercom.
Maybe killing Dick Laurent is what pushed him over the edge.
Maybe, because later, God, I wish David Lynch could see this. Are you watching this, man? Oh, man.
He watched people debate this movie for 20 years.
Oh, yeah.
I think
he's heard every
I
scenario.
think he would look at us and go, "Oh, you sweet children."
Yeah, he's like, I just made this shit up as I went. I didn't know.
No, I doubt that. This is way too clever and careful about things. People can't say, and if he says that, he's just being.
Well, now
lying.
you guys understand how it's difficult for me to watch a Kubrick film or a Lynch film or some of these other films and then go back to these popcorn movies where they don't put effort brain cell one into the story or the characters. It's very difficult for me to go from up here to down there unless it's just total ridiculous, stupid shit.
But
mediocrity.
I remember being in college
offends me.
watching Mulholland Drive with somebody, and we had charts we were making. We were like, okay, well, this guy shows up here, this guy.
Venn diagram.
Oh, yeah. It was awesome. But the thing is, if you really study it, every little weird piece, they all fit together. It's like, it's such a freaking masterpiece.
Right. And that's just it. You're not going to see a movie like this now because Hollywood would never touch that with a 10-foot pole now. There's ain't no way.
They wouldn't because they wouldn't understand it, and they'd be like, "I don't like something I don't understand," or the audience isn't going to.
How are we going to market toys to children with this?
Yeah, right. Where are we going to get the original
the Lost Highway toys?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'd buy that.
The Lost Highway playset.
I want to. What's the character's name? Bill Pullman's character?
Fred.
Fred, thank you. I want a Fred action figure with a saxophone.
Saxophone.
Yes.
Oh, I would like that, or you could have a Pete one with the wrench,
or the mystery man with the camera.
Mystery man with the camera.
Yeah.
You could have a
Bill Pullman in an electric chair.
Well,
you'll never see it. So.
I was thinking of Waiting for Guffman, that part where he's got the Waiting for Guffman. No, not Waiting for Guffman. And what is the one that? God, my brain doesn't work anymore.
Welcome to old age.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Waiting for Guffman has the My Dinner with Andre lunchbox. That was funny. So yeah, you could have a Lost Highway lunchbox.
I would have it.
I wonder if there is one. I mean, I'm sure there's got to be somebody at least made something like that. I'll have to look that up later And if I find it, I'll put it in the comments.
Nice,
For people
excellent
to check out. But
or if you own a 3D printer and you want to design a Lost Highway lunchbox and send it to us,
But I like movies that will challenge you. Christopher Nolan does that a little bit.
Yep.
There are a couple of other directors who are
he
out there.
did do that.
Did do that.
I nowadays I don't really find Christopher Nolan to be that.
No, but Memento was.
And Insomnia had some weird stuff going on, and a bunch of his stuff was like that in the beginning. And even Inception is just weird as fuck. It's a dream within a dream within a dream within a dream.
But it all fits.
But it all fits. And it works.
Yeah. And that one reminded me of Mulholland Drive a little bit, just in the way that there were all these intricate layers going on, but if you really parsed it, they all did work.
Yeah, like the Russian doll thing.
Yeah.
They're all like inside each other. Yeah.
So
I like that. I
did like
movies that will bother to tell the story in a different way that fractures the standard. Linear storytelling.
When I watched this and saw the videotapes, I thought of Videodrome, which we did for Criterion Watch. And so
is that a Cronenberg?
That's a Cronenberg movie, and it was really good. Like there's a 4K of it. I want to get that.
Cronenberg approaches it in a different way, but he's similar.
Yeah, he's similar.
I don't know that many of his. I think the only ones I've actually seen were Existence and Naked Lunch.
He likes to throw a little bit more body horror stuff.
Yeah,
Naked Lunch, definitely.
Well, I read the book on that before I watched the movie, and
I gotta buy that on.
Yeah,
they're both weird.
Naked Lunch is pretty much out there.
Yeah.
I remember. And
hey, another guy that shot his wife, William S. Burroughs.
As you do.
Yeah.
Don't say that.
Well, a lot of the people we're talking about today shot their wives.
I know, but
that was back in the day. That was the USA thing to do.
Yeah.
To the moon, Alice, bang, zoom.
Yeah, right.
Lucy, you got some splaining to do.
Yep.
Oh lordy. But yeah, we had. I mean, this movie had some crazy scenes and stuff and things, and Patricia Arquette was naked throughout like almost the whole movie.
Naked.
She was very naked very frequently.
And it wasn't a body double either.
At first I thought it might end up being, but like obviously we got side boob in the beginning, then we got actual nipple on the when they're having sex, and then she like literally strips at the end, toward the end and stuff.
For Robert Loggia.
At gunpoint. Yeah.
And what was. I think you've opposed like, why didn't she just leave? And we're like, come on, Paul.
Yeah. Like
you just leave.
I didn't say that. He said that. That was the Balthazar Getty's character.
Yeah, and it's like because I had a gun pointed in my head, and also we learned because she kind of liked it.
Yeah. She enjoyed it.
She kind of liked it.
Yeah.
You get the feeling that was part of the game.
And that's
for her.
And for him, for Fred, Bill Pullman's character. That was part of him feeling emasculated because he knew she was into all this stuff, and he
found out about it,
and he couldn't. But he also couldn't perform.
But
for her.
See, that's what we miss. That's the stuff with the unreliable narrative.
Yeah,
that's the things we miss. We miss him actually finding Robert Loggia, and like that she did the porn.
There are hints, though. I mean. I know that it was the technology of the day, but remember, he's finding out all the stuff happens when he finds out stuff on a videotape.
So you think he found some tapes, maybe?
Yes, with her on there.
Yes.
Oh.
I think so too, because I think we see one of them. I think in his dream state, when he comes into Andy's house, and there's just this huge screen and all the German stuff going on, and she's on the porno screen.
And then, it pops up into the fantasy part too, where he's like, here's a porn tape. Here, get a boner.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, that's okay. I don't want it.
Yeah.
Pete didn't want it. Even though Pete was like the big sex guy.
Subconscious Pete knows what's on there.
Mm-hmm.
And so then his girlfriend that Pete had before Alice, she does nudity too in the movie and stuff. That was, I mean, all of that was so like, I mean, not that I had any problem with it, obviously.
But it wasn't just like sex just for sex sake. The whole point of all those sex scenes was this guy is impotent and it bothers him a lot. It really is the thing that drives him over the edge. Really,
there's definitely like a subtext behind it.
Could have had Gary Busey naked. That would have really.
Oh gosh.
Can we talk about how it had Gary Busey and Richard Pryor both in the
Yes,
same movie?
I love that.
You know,
and Henry Rollins.
Yep.
Henry Rollins and
Marilyn Manson.
Marilyn Manson pops in. And Giovanni Ribisi plays one of the friends, but I didn't recognize him at the time, or whatever. I'd have to rewatch it again. I would rewatch this again because this is like.
Oh yeah, this is a movie that gets better as you watch it.
Really?
Over and over.
Does
You will
Mulholland
pick up more
Drive
things.
get the same way?
I don't know that it gets better, but you start to, like, if you watch it, I've probably seen it 5 or 6 times, and every time I watch it, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember when that first happens and how it comes back later, and it all makes sense.
Well, and that's the thing. I don't pick up as much new stuff with Mulholland Drive. I do find new things
with this
Lost
one.
Highway.
Okay.
Things I hadn't noticed before.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's definitely one of those movies that has so much going on. Like, it's 2 hours and 14 minutes, so there's a lot that happens in that movie, you know, or whatever. And it's not. See, when I watch a movie now that I groan when it's 2 hours, over 2 hours, because a lot of times, not just this movie or whatever, not this movie, but a lot of times the movies are so boring being 2 hours because they have just slow moments. This is never a dull moment. There's always something going, just like Mulholland Drive. There's always something going on, and you wanted to know by the end of it what the hell is going on. And I guarantee you, when normal moviegoers, not Paul, because Paul loves this kind of stuff.
Not abnormal people like Paul. Right.
But like the regular moviegoers that watch like the Marvel movies or something, when go to see this, they'll be like, I don't get it. Like, what did I just watch? I don't like this because they don't want to have to think about it. It's Hitchcock had a word for it. It's called icebox movies. Which meant that whenever you see a movie that's like makes you think, a lot of Hitchcock movies tried to make you think about whatever. You would go after you were doing it. You would go to icebox or go to get drinks or whatever, food, whatever, and go talk to whoever you were, like a water cooler or whatever. Like call them like water coolers and stuff like that. But, you know, you want to talk to people about it and ask questions. I think he's got to go pee.
Uh-oh.
Alright. No, don't pee in the...
Do you need to take him?
I think I do, but you guys continue talking.
Alright, we're going to ignore Moody for just a minute because he's taking Rocky, the famous Rocky, out for boobies and... Not boobies, boo-boos.
Rocky's going to run up the steps to that song.
Dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun, there he goes to go pee.
So, I really dig it. It's one of my favorite films. I love how it shamelessly avoids standard, linear storytelling.
Yep.
I think it's very bravo. I love that aspect. I wish I could create a movie that was similar to that. It's just...
It reminds me a little bit, too, of... have you ever read any William Faulkner?
Oh, yeah.
As
I Lay Dying.
Oh, I love As I Lay Dying. That's
what a happy story.
It's one of my favorite books of all time. But talk about, like, the non-linear storytelling and the unreliable narrator. Like, he practically invented that.
Yeah.
And these movies remind me a lot of William Faulkner. Or The Sound and the Fury is another good one. And, just like... things will happen, and you're going to see it happen 5 or 6 different times, but you're seeing it from a different character's perspective each time, and you're like, oh, what the heck is really going on
And
here?
like I said, it's not like that hasn't happened before, too. Akira Kurosawa did that as well.
Yep.
With Rashomon.
Okay. I have not seen Rashomon.
Where there's an incident, and it's seen through the eyes of 5 or 6 other characters and how different it is. And
there was a newer one I was trying to get you to watch called The Last Duel, and it's a medieval period piece.
So it's the Matt Damon movie, right?
Yes, Matt Damon is in it, and I can't remember who else, but there's elements of that in it, which you don't realize until you're like 2/3 into the movie, and then you're like, oh, unreliable narrator, no way. Anyway, sorry I just spoiled it for y'all that hadn't seen it. But,
or a little bit of The Green Knight.
Oh, The Green Knight. The Green Knight was good.
I have
really
that
like
on
that.
4K.
Do you really? Did you like it?
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh.
I haven't watched it.
It's weird. It's weird.
There's
Yeah,
a couple of A24 movies I need to watch. We're planning at some point to do, even though he keeps forgetting that I told him he can do it, is The Witch.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
You want to come on for The Witch?
Yes.
Okay. Have you on back on for
Well,
that
I'll go
one?
on for The Witch.
Yes, I love that movie.
That should be
He
the
wouldn't
next one
watch
he
it for
does.
a long time because
I
he was
wouldn't.
afraid of it.
Why?
Because I've heard they use real, like, witchcraft, like, real, like, words and stuff.
There is no real witchcraft.
There's no such thing as real
I don't
real
know,
witchcraft.
man. I don't know. There's some weird shit that happens. I don't want to
suppose,
trust.
but
I
no,
don't want to trust that kind of shit. I don't know, but I will watch it because it's a movie that I've been dying to see.
Yeah,
at some
because
point.
you will finally know who Black Phillip is. Black Phillip is my hero.
And then, of course, it is the birthplace of Anya Taylor-Joy, whom I absolutely adore.
Is that the girl in The Witch?
Mm-hmm.
The actress? She was pretty new, right? That was one of her first.
I think that's the one that put her on the map.
Right.
Yeah.
And she
rightfully so. She was astounding.
Yes, she was.
She's in Last Night Soho, which I love. She's in
The Northman.
The Split, or Split, the Split Identity movie.
She's awesome.
Yeah,
she's
was
one of my favorite. Mad Max Furiosa. You need to see that.
Oh, I
just
heard
for her in that.
I heard that was really good.
She was
too.
magnificent.
Mm-hmm.
She's a sweetheart.
That whole cast was magnificent, though.
Yes.
Like, I loved seeing some of those people back in Nosferatu. The father from that he played some small role in that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But.
Well, I also wanted to point out what we have on this.
On
4K. So, there is a documentary called Pretty as a Picture, The Art of David Lynch, a feature-length 1997 documentary by Toby Keeler featuring Lynch and his collaborators Angelo
Badalamenti. Yeah, the music came from him.
Peter Deming, Barry Gifford, Mary Sweeney, and others, along with on-set footage of Lost Highway.
Ooh, neat.
Yeah. Reading by Lynch and critic Christine McKenna of excerpts from the 2018 book Room to Dream. Archival interviews with Lynch and actors Patricia Arquette, Bill Pullman, and Robert Loggia. And English subtitles, which we watched.
So like the Lost Highway is like it's symbolic of his psyche and everything, but it also there's a reality that it's attached to because there was this seedy motel out on the highway in the desert where all of this porn shit was going on.
Mm-hmm.
In Van Nuys, which actually a lot of porn does happen in Van Nuys, where I used to live.
Oh,
go ahead.
I think too, this movie when it first came out, it must have had a bigger impact than it would if it were to just come out today, because porn was not as big as it is now. Like, everybody has access to it now. Like, you have a phone, you have access, and so just seeing the seedy underworld of the industry must have been a lot more shocking.
The idea that somebody who was in the sex industry, was a lot more shocking then, I think, than now. I think
now it is, No, I know a few people.
Like, what do you mean you don't have an OnlyFans page? Mm-hmm. Like, how do you make money?
And sex work is is a lot more not as looked down upon. Now, there's some people who still look down upon it.
Because these days you have a lot more control over the content that you create, especially on OnlyFans. You make whatever you want.
And you're not as likely to get accidentally roped into a snuff film.
You're not doing stuff that's controlled by the mob
Right.
What I've been told too is that there are people in the child sex traffickers and things like that use OnlyFans or use other stuff. Well, you don't know. Like, nobody will know unless if the person looks like they're 18 or older. You can't.
Unfortunately, that kind of thing has been around forever, and it probably always will be around forever.
Mm-hmm. And it's a sucky thing that I don't think there's any way to physically stop it.
But just imagine going into you went and saw this in the theater when it came out. I mean, wasn't that shocking just to see all of that on the screen? Just I mean, not in a, because it's not like it was tasteless or anything. It was very pertinent to the story, but I mean, who was doing stuff like that?
Not very many people.
I mean, yeah, that must have been just shocking to people.
Well, I mean, I wasn't shocked by it so much as I was happy that it was there because I love a deep film. But remember, I'm coming from the dude who's seen all the George Brutengard stuff, all the crazy German necromantique stuff.
Ooh,
so
okay.
yeah, I've seen a lot of the craziest of the craziest. So stuff that's way more out there than this.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it's still this is done, but it's done really, really, really well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, I really enjoyed this film, and I can't believe I hadn't seen it for over 20 years, and
there you go.
got to see it again, so that was nice.
Yay, well, maybe we'll do Mulholland Drive at some point.
Woohoo!
We'll have to do that for some point.
And Blue Velvet and Eraserhead.
And Wild at Heart. Why
Yeah.
don't we just do them all?
Stanley Kubrick's favorite film, by the way.
Eraserhead, yeah.
Yep. Well, I think that about wraps it up, right?
Yep,
I mean,
yep.
we talked about it all. I don't think any stone left unturned on
Right.
this movie.
Other than the music. The music was really, really good. Buy the soundtrack if you can find it.
You said you knew one of the artists. I mean, not like physically knew, but you were a fan of.
Lisa Gerrard. As soon as I saw her voice or heard her voice.
And Trent Reznor and David Bowie. Oh my
Marilyn
gosh.
Manson.
Marilyn Manson.
And he's in the movie.
He is in the movie. Yep.
It's just such a strange thing. I mean, I guarantee you, maybe that was his deal. Like maybe he said, "I'll do it, David, but I got to be in it."
Maybe. I don't know.
I'll give you a pervy part. Sold.
Sold. Right. Yep.
My favorite thing about hearing about David's untimely passing and sad passing is that Serena Vincent, who is in Cabin Fever, got introduced to David Lynch by Eli Roth, who did Cabin Fever, right?
Okay.
Eli and I think David liked Cabin Fever or something, was a fan or whatever, and stuff. And he said, and there was a story she told where she said that she had, he said, "Hey, I love your work, or whatever. We should work together sometime." And she was like, "Well, what?" Getting asked by David Lynch to work together. That's amazing, right? So she didn't think anything of it. One day she gets a call. "Hey, it's David. I would love for you to come out and be in. I'm probably messing this up. Some of this is probably a little messed up in the way that it happened or whatever. But the way that I remember hearing it is that she said she got told "Oh, come on out." So she was a little nervous, because it's a short film by David Lynch, whatever. She comes out there. Eli is there, and so is Jordan, who's in Cabin Fever, and they did some little short film together and had a blast. And it was, he did a lot of that stuff. He was one of those directors that didn't want to ever stop directing.
Yeah.
Was it Werner Herzog Eats His Shoe?
I don't know. I can't say. Maybe it is. I don't know.
It wasn't.
That's from a while ago.
Yeah.
But
This was
but
after
he did
2004.
shoot.
Yes, he did.
He sure did.
But no, it was amazing to hear that all these wonderful stories, all these people who admired him or worked with him or whatever. And I know Kyle MacLachlan did a really, really nice little piece about David and stuff. And
I watched a few of his talks. He was big into transcendental meditation too, huge into that.
And it's so funny because especially the way Twin Peaks hit the television world, the movie that he did at the follow-up, the Walk With Me, that really kind of bombed.
Did it?
Oh,
but
yeah.
I've heard it was good though. It was really good. I don't know.
I
think Lila
weird.
liked it.
I think a lot of, and I saw it. I was like, I don't know. I think he's done better. He's definitely done better.
Well, I actually saw Twin Peaks for the first time when I was in LA. When I was living in Van Nuys. My roommate at the time, Lila, she was a huge Twin Peaks fan. She wasn't a huge just David Lynch fan. She just really loved Twin Peaks. And so she was telling me, "You gotta see Twin Peaks. You'll love Twin Peaks. Watch Twin Peaks." So one day, she was at work. I was home alone. Didn't know what to do. So I was like, I'll check this show out. And I started watching it, and I could not. I binged. I had to.
Oh, good.
I had to,
Got hooked on the backwards talking little guy.
I really, seriously.
I have never seen it still, so I've got to add it.
Binged, and it was
and the
amazing.
Elephant Man, apparently.
And
but I haven't seen
first season of True Detective. I'm telling you.
What, does he do stuff with that?
No. But
okay. True Detective.
It's similar.
It's Lynchian.
Similar vibe.
Lynchian.
Yes.
I'm so glad nobody's ever coined a phrase of Moodyan.
Moodyan? This film is practically Moodyan. Presenzian. Oh.
That is yet to be made.
Oh man, would that be a mixture of like really good and really bad stuff?
Yeah, there'd be a lot of probably continuity monkeys and rubber chickens.
It depends. If it's cheap, I'm going to go silly. If it's actual money being spent, then I'm going to be serious.
Yeah, but anyway, it was wonderful. I really had a fun time watching it, but not rewatching, but watching it for the first time, and I think I'm going to rewatch it.
Yeah. I'm
not going to rewatch it soon.
But
give
it a little time to percolate in your brain. Read that short story, The Occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge, and then watch this again.
Actually, I really want to see the what do you call it? That's in there.
The documentary.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the documentary.
I'm surprised you don't have a copy of this. Maybe on next
Blu-ray.
Criterion. But you don't want the fork. You don't care about the fork.
I mean, I'd like to.
I think the documentary is on the Blu-ray, so you can see it if you ever want to watch it at your house or whatever. But oh man, there's a couple things in here like there's a home is where things can go wrong. And that, I guess that's the only one, but that's I don't know who did it. Following interview with David Lynch. Oh, it's an interview with them where he's talking about he's talking to the person about the making of the movie. So awesome. Nice. That's great to hear. Real quick, I'll read an excerpt from this. Your work often introduces just a hint of threatening or foreign element into a familiar situation. Can you say something about that? Well, it happens often. You're in some place and you're having a good time and someone says something that suddenly introduces a horror. Or you see a little bit of a pistol in their pocket and it changes everything. I don't think I've had either of those actually ever happen.
Oh, I have.
You think things are one way and then something happens and you see that they're another way and then you have to deal with it. Those things I really like.
Kind of like you're out walking in the park and all of a sudden you see somebody go up to a child and swallow them with their mouth just comes open and then they turn and look at you.
No, I have a real life one like this.
Chompy and the Girls.
I know,
that was very Lynchian.
It.
I was taking a walk outside. It was a nice sunny day. It was pretty out and everything. And all of a sudden, a squirrel fell dead out of a tree right in front of me. It's like he was up there and he had a little squirrel heart attack and fell dead at my feet. And I was like, and that put a different spin on that walk.
He fell for you.
He did. He fell for me.
You literally broke his heart.
I did, I guess.
He was off his nut.
Yeah. So, shit like that happens and it changes. Like, I also remember being in college and I had, because this is how old I am, I had a Walkman, right? My little cassette tapes and my headphones. And I was listening to this crazy, 20th century classical music that's all dissonant and stuff. And I'm walking across campus. And it was weird. I kept, taking the headphones off. And everything was normal, and then I'd put the headphones on, and it was like, oh, it's a horror, It was just like, yeah.
Like a Pederecki kind of soundtrack?
Yes, stuff like that, yeah,
okay.
yeah. And it was a bright, sunny day and gorgeous out, but as soon as you put that music in your ears, it just changes everything.
Well, there you go. My friend said he watched Chompy and the Bits the other day.
Ooh, Rocky.
He did not like that. I don't know. He was not happy with Chompy and the Bits. Or Chompy and the Girls.
Yes.
Chompy and the Girls. That's a movie.
Oh.
It's a movie where a guy just swallows people whole.
Chompy.
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
It's fun.
It sounds like something he would make because it'd be like nom nom nom.
Yeah.
But it's a good.
That was Marina Monster.
Yeah, that was the bring me nom.
Bring me nom noms. the shark.
A shark that actually
the plastic
talks.
shark.
Lovely.
No.
That was cute.
Yeah. All right. Anyway,
Anyway.
That's about it. Thank you, David Lynch, for all the amazing work you've done. And sorry it took a while for us to do this, but we don't plan these things, and then it happens, and then we've already got other things we've done. So, but this will be out in March, so I'm really excited, and I hope you guys enjoyed this and have a good one. Till then, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. It's your turn. It's your movie.
Oh.
That we're reviewing.
Is it running?
Yep, it's running. So